The movie opens with Alma explaining the common things one can find in Scottyhamen, the small town she's from. The next scene shows her on the kitchen floor, listening to the voice on the telephone, pleasuring herself and moaning while her dog watches her. Alma's mom drives in and steps out of the car. As she turns to head inside the house, a neighbor watches her strangely from his window. Alma hears the footsteps and sounds from her mother as her mom calls out her name. She gets up quickly from the ground, pulling her trousers up and moving her zipper. She rushes to sit at her table and pretends to be busy with schoolwork. Alma alerts her mom she is currently in the kitchen, and her mom comes in oblivious. Alma's mom's attention is grabbed by the telephone on the floor, and she queries her daughter about the new placement. Alma slowly shrugs her shoulders, claiming she knows nothing about it. A new scene unfolds as Alma takes her dog out for a walk. She comes across Arthur, a boy in her class she has a crush on. Arthur asks to join her and she agrees, smiling at him as they both walk together. The scene shifts to an internal monologue of Alma fantasizing about Arthur coming into her room at night through the window, carefully laying her to bed, kissing and caressing her till dawn. Arthur seeks to know if Alma will be attending the upcoming party, and she gives him an affirmation. Alma stands at the back of a mart with her friends Sarah Lou and Sarah Lou's sister, Ingrid. Sarah lights a cigarette, and Ingrid tries to move the smoke away by flapping her fingers so it doesn't affect her. This makes Sarah scoff, as Ingrid also warns her about the unhealthiness that comes with smoking. Alma sees a guy exiting his car and alerts Sarah and Ingrid, who both agree that he is a perfect match for their underage trick. Ingrid applies her lip gloss and goes ahead to approach him. She lies to the guy about forgetting her ID at home, and she really needs to get beer for herself as well as her friends. She brings out money and gives it to him to help her get the drinks. The guy hands over 2 bags containing bottled alcoholic drinks. Alma talks about how calm and chill the guy is, and Ingrid reminds them it's time to get on the bus. Inside the bus, the three slowly approach the signboard that shows Scottyhamen, and just then, Sarah and Alma bring out their middle finger, pointing it to the Scottyhamen signboard as they exit the place. Alma lies outside her house as she calls Stig, the wild wet dreams guy who speaks to her via the telephone. He seeks to know why Alma left him hanging the last time he was speaking with her, and she tells him her mum came in at that time, so she had no other option than to hang up. Alma sees her mom approaching her, and she promises to give Stig a call some other time. Alma's mom comes to let Alma know she is off to jog so she can stay healthy and in shape. While preparing for the party, Alma sits in front of the dressing mirror, wears her necklace, brings out her cologne and sprays it on her neck and wrist. In an internal monologue, she talks about how Arthur's coming to the party prompted her to get a new dress. Alma also lets us know how hard of a task it was to pick the dress. But Maria, her best friend's elder sister who is a student in a university in Oslo, made it easy for her to pick that particular dress, saying it suits her perfectly well. Alma pins a red rose hairpin on her hair and daydreams about a romantic moment with Arthur, running in the woods with him and holding hands. Ingrid, Sarah and Alma are seen sitting at their regular alone spot drinking, when Maria approaches them, beeping her horn. Sarah asks her sister why she chose to leave Scottyhamen so fast. Maria advises all three to drink less, and be careful not to get pregnant. She bids them goodbye as she drives off, leaving Scottyhamen. Sarah talks about how Maria is living her best life in Oslo, with lots of good people around her and parties to attend. She expresses her sadness and the boredom that comes with living in Scottyhamen, and she wishes to go to Texas someday to start her life there. Ingrid tries to persuade her sister to change her mind, but Sarah switches up and mocks Ingrid for wanting, only to stay in Scottyhamen and be stuck with a cheap job at the end. At the party, Alma, Ingrid and Sarah are sitting on the couch. Ingrid spots Arthur from a distance and introduces him to Sarah, who doesn't seem to show any concern. Arthur greets them and Alma quickly responds. Ingrid's reaction changes, and her brows furrows as she gets increasingly angry at the fact that Alma knows Arthur already. Alma stares at Arthur, who is standing at another corner, and he looks at her too. While outside opening her drink, Arthur comes to join her. They both look at each other romantically, and just then, Arthur pokes Alma with his groin. Her expression is a mask of bewilderment. She looks at him with a mixture of confusion and disbelief as she struggles to make sense of the situation. Alma approaches Sarah and Ingrid, elucidating her recent moment with Arthur. Ingrid gets pissed off and notifies Alma that all she's saying is just in her head and not real, because Arthur would not just walk up to her and randomly do that. Arthur walks towards the girls, and Ingrid informs him about Alma's claims. Sarah leaves, showing that she doesn't want to involve herself in the mess that's happening. Arthur affirms that it's all in Alma's head. Ingrid tells her to quit being delusional and back off. Alma leaves the party room in complete embarrassment as people keep staring at her in disbelief and disgust. It's morning, and Alma's mom knocks on her door, trying to obtain permission from her daughter so she can come in. Alma disagrees, but her mom still comes in anyway and scolds her for drinking alcohol, letting her know that she would not condone such behavior from her. Alma boldly challenges her mother's wisdom and disregards her guidance, persistently talking back at her mom, saying she will be turning 16 soon. There's a knock on the door, and Alma's mom goes for it. She sees Ingrid outside, who seeks to come in and see Alma. Ingrid goes into Alma's room and sees her lying on the bed. Alma fantasizes about Ingrid putting on her lip gloss and going down on her. Ingrid quickly snaps her fingers, bringing Alma back to reality. Ingrid storms out of Alma's house in complete disgust. Just then, in an internal monologue, Alma elucidates what happened inside, and how she touched Ingrid with her tits. She feels like she is now in trouble, as the secret about her personal life has finally been exposed. In the next scene, Alma's mom rushes into the room to wake her up, and tells her to get ready for school because they are running late already. She drops her daughter off, and Alma slowly walks into the school compound. There's a test going on in Alma's class, and she is carefully answering the questions when one of her classmates throws a piece of paper containing a mockery note of what Alma said at the party. Her teacher walks towards her and grabs the paper from her, reading out loud its contents and making everyone burst into laughter. Alma gets sad as she becomes an outcast in her school, with everyone getting to know and call her Dick Alma. She approaches a schoolmate and buys a pack of cigarettes from him. Everyone gets on the bus and Alma sees Arthur getting on the bus too. She turns to look at him, and Ingrid gives her a sinister smile. Alma turns away and grabs a cigarette. She asks Arthur if he wants to smoke with her. As they get off the bus, Arthur tells Alma that he doesn't like the sisters at all, especially Ingrid, as he thinks she's stupid. He lets Alma know he likes her, but he can't make them public because she's unpopular. Alma breaks the news of her going to New York for modeling to him, and as he looks down at his zipper, he tells her he's going to miss her. Alma takes him into her mom's room, and they're both shown lying down naked and smoking together. Alma drools over Arthur as he produces smoke rings like an expert would. It appears that all the moments with Arthur were all Alma's imagination, as she continues walking alone on the street. The Tapaline kids play as they call her Dick Alma, and neighbors stare at her as she goes into her home. Alma goes to the church where Ingrid and Arthur are choristers. She peeps through the window and watches them perform. In an internal monologue, she talks about how messed up the choir is for having Ingrid and Arthur, who are promiscuous. Alma sits behind her school, lights a stick of the hash cigarette, and spreads the smoke on her jacket. She goes over to peep at Arthur, but sees him complimenting Ingrid's pink jacket. Alma sighs, and her dog gives her a pitiful and hopeless look. She walks toward Ingrid, who's standing with her friends, and she pushes herself towards them, asking them if they can perceive the hash cigarette coming from her. Ingrid mocks her, saying all they can perceive is sweat. Alma tries to tell them it's truly hash cigarette, and that she isn't crazy, but they all walk out on her. This leaves Alma speechless as she sniffs her jacket and clothes. She turns and sees Sarah, who has been watching and smoking the whole while, but has refused to say a word. Sarah looks away with a sad countenance on her face. While on her computer, Sarah checks the list of criminal pen pals who are awaiting capital punishment. She chooses Steve and writes to him, telling him about the chaos in Escapism and how her best friend, Alma, has now become an outcast, with her sister, Ingrid, also interested in Arthur. Sarah goes to drop the letter in the post and sees Kay Jarton, who seems to have an interest in her. They greet each other, and he stares at her. This makes Sarah leave the post office without sending the letter out. Alma cleans her room when her mom comes in with the phone bills. She sees the high price and the service number that caused the increment. Alma's mom queries Alma about the unknown number, and she lets it out confidently to her mother that she has been calling the number because she's horny, so she can have phone sex. Her mom scolds her for being so direct about it, and Alma talks back at her. She tells her mom she's going to take care of the phone bills by working part-time for Sebjorn. Alma's mom threatens to call the number and tell him to quit doing what he's doing with her daughter, but Alma pleads with her that she needs him because she's horny. She runs into the toilet to puke and comes out to see her mom sitting there. She asks her mom if she gave Stig the warning, and her mom tells her that she didn't. In the next scene, Alma walks to the quiet spot where she hangs out with Sarah and Ingrid. Sarah approaches her, and they sit together to talk. Sarah assures Alma they can be hanging out together at this cool spot, but not at school. Back at Alma's home, the telephone rings and her mom goes to answer it. She listens to Stig as he introduces himself and tells her it's time for their monthly discussion. Alma's mom listens to Stig say the sexual things he thinks he's saying to Alma. When she can't take it anymore, she hangs up and goes to have dinner. Alma gets back home and heads upstairs. Her mom alerts her that dinner is ready, and she should come and eat. At the dining table, Alma's mom tells her it was boring eating alone, and she'd love to hang with her daughter the following day. Alma talks bad about the taste of her mom's food, and drinks water instead. The next scene shows Alma in Sebjorn's store, with Sebjorn showing her how things are done there. She gets bored and decides to masturbate with a coin roll. Sebjorn shows up in her fantasy, and she hallucinates about him asking her to have sex with him. Artur comes into the store with his little sister, and they both see Alma acting up. Artur's sister tries to grab her attention and pay for the book they bought. Artur doesn't say a word to Alma, but rather, he looks at her with complete disgust and leaves. At Alma's classroom, her teacher gives her the test scripts and advises her to work on herself. Instead of appreciating her teacher's kindness, Alma tells him to go screw himself. After classes, Alma's classmate shares her birthday invitation to everyone except Alma, saying no one needs her at the upcoming birthday party. At Sebjorn's store, she sits at the counter while Sebjorn puts things in order. He asks her how school is going, and advises her to take good care of herself. Alma eats with her mom and talks about how she feels her mom can't stand looking at her anymore because of her disgusting horny behaviors. She says she knows her mom has heard her moan and can't stand her anymore, but is just trying to force herself to do so because she's her daughter. Kjartan approaches Sarah and sings a poem to her, which he wrote by himself. He asks her why she doesn't want to date him. Sarah tells him that she wants to leave Skadahamen for Texas, and that's why she has been pulling herself back from him and everyone else. They get into the bus together and Sarah writes to Steve, telling him she's 15 years old and has just fallen in love for the first time. She lets Steve know that she will be in Texas with Kjartan soon, and they will surely visit him. At Sebjorn's supermarket, Sebjorn asks Alma to arrange the items on the shelf. Alma believes Sebjorn knows she's an outcast, and Ingrid might have been the one to let him know that she's a pervert. While arranging the items on the shelf, she sees a couple of adult magazines and picks one to read. Just as she is going through it, Sarah knocks on the glass, and she is startled, hiding the magazine. Sarah and Alma sit outside to have a drink, and Alma gets up to put the porn magazine in the dustbin. Sarah tells her about her newfound love, Kjartan, and Alma can't help but be happy for both Sarah and the lucky guy. Sarah tells Alma that she thinks Artur likes Alma, and it will be so nice for Alma to date Artur while she dates Kjartan. They can all go on double dates together as best friends. Sebjorn goes to the bin to throw a waste box, and sees the porn magazine in the bin. He picks it up and calls Alma's mom to report Alma. Alma's mom pleads with Sebjorn to pardon her daughter's recent abnormal behavior and give her another chance. Alma's mom gets off the phone and scolds Alma, letting her know she's grounded. Alma accepts it and goes upstairs to her room. In the morning, Alma comes down and sees her mom preparing to go to work. Her mom reminds her that she's still grounded, and just then, she peeps outside and sees the weird neighbor looking at her and her daughter. She quickly covers the curtain, preventing the man from looking into her house. Alma goes into her mom's room and applies lipstick on her lips. In an internal monologue, Alma sadly introduces herself as a soon-to-be 16-year-old, who is an outcast due to saying Artur poked her with his groin. She sits on the toilet seat and cries, but Sarah comes into the toilet and asks her to come out, because she has an idea. As Alma comes out, Sarah gives her a tissue to wipe her teary face. She tells Alma to have a conversation with Artur, and it might actually change her situation in Skadahamen. Sarah is seen with her sister Ingrid. Ingrid raises her voice and tells her she knows she has been visiting Alma, and has also been going to the mailbox to drop and pick up letters. Sarah lets Ingrid understand the fact that Alma did absolutely nothing wrong to deserve the ill treatment she's getting. Ingrid tells Sarah that Alma is a liar, and Sarah contrasts the statement, saying Arthur might be the one who lied. She walks away from her sister, saying she's going to make sure she talks to Alma at school on Monday, and not ignore her anymore. Sarah goes to meet Kay Jardin, and they both have a smoke together while sitting outside and cuddling each other. In the next scene, Alma phones Stig, and he tells her it's been a while since he heard from her. Alma tells him she hasn't been in the mood lately, and he asks her if it's because of Arthur, but she responds that she hasn't seen anyone who wants her and cares about her. Stig tells her it's a lie, and there's someone out there who wants her. Alma overhears her mom talking to Sarah's mom. Sarah's mom praises her 3 daughters and asks about Alma. Alma's mom, with tiredness, frustration and tears, tells her that she hates to say this, but all her daughter knows and truly wants is basically sex. What she does is steal porn magazines from her workplace. She admits that she has heard her daughter moan while masturbating, and she's too embarrassed to even look at her. Alma storms out of her house with a drink after hearing her mom say all that. She brings out her middle finger and shows it to the weird neighbor who is always watching them. Alma goes to Arthur's house, and he comes out and sees her sitting on the floor, saying they belong to each other. He reaches out his hand to help her get up, and she confronts him about what he did to her with his dick. He finally admits that he did that to her, but says he can't tell everyone the truth. Alma tells him they belong together. Arthur breaks it to Alma that he has a girlfriend already, and apologizes to Alma. She runs out of his house in tears and boards a bus to Oslo. Back at Alma's home, her mom opens the door and doesn't see her, but helps arrange her bed and things. While waiting for Alma to return, she eats the snacks on her plate. Walking on the road, Alma imagines the situation back at Escapism and in school. She imagines Arthur looking at her regular spot and not seeing her there, and will start regretting his actions. Meanwhile, she's long gone and will never be back. Alma goes over to Maria's house and rings the bell. She sees Elizabeth, who asks her if Maria knows she's around. Elizabeth knocks on Maria's door, and Maria comes out and sees Alma. Just then, a guy comes out from another room and compliments her jacket. Maria shows Alma the room to stay in, and tells her about her upcoming exams, and how she's a little behind and needs to catch up. She promises to talk to Alma in the evening, and she hands over new clothes. Alma's mom opens her daughter's door, but doesn't see her. She goes ahead to meet with her neighbor, Magda, who always looks at them and asks her if she has seen her daughter, because she did not get back home last night. The neighbor doesn't say a word, and Alma's mom apologizes for closing the curtain on her. Magda tells her it was rude of her to think she is always spying on people. Alma's mom apologizes, and asks her once again if she has seen her daughter. Magda tells Alma's mom everything about the whereabouts of Alma, and this leaves her in shock. Magda also asks her if she heard about the incident that happened with Alma at school, that made her an outcast. In Oslo, Alma's phone rings and she ignores it. This makes Maria's roommate query and ask her if she ran away from home. Elizabeth lets them know that Alma doesn't have to inform them about everything in her life. Alma assures them that she's okay with it, and elucidates the situation she has been in for 6 weeks now. She tells them about how the party at the youth center became a nightmare for her, as Arthur poked her with his groin, and still lied to everyone that she is just being delusional. She explains how Ingrid makes everyone in the region call her Dick Alma and believe that she's crazy. They all feel pity for her, and Maria hugs her. Maria's male roommate tells her that he feels Arthur actually has interest in her, because guys don't poke their dicks on random people. They all give a toast to Alma and drink together. Maria's male roommate plays the guitar for her, and sings to her using Dick Alma. This makes her smile brightly at him, admiring his efforts and all. Maria makes Elizabeth clap for their friend. They all dance together, moving their legs and swinging their hands in the air, vibing to the beats from the track playing. While sleeping on the couch, Alma's phone rings, and Maria grabs it and responds after seeing it's Alma's mom. Alma's mom asks after Alma, and Maria makes her aware that she's with her. The next day, Alma gets on the bus heading to Escapism to meet her mom. She gets out of the bus and sees her mom standing across. With passionate and pitiful eyes, Alma's mom moves over to her daughter and hugs her softly, with tears in her eyes. They both get into the car, and Alma brings out her middle finger to the Scottihamen signboard. While in the car, she sees the lonely spots she sits in with Sarah and Ingrid, and other places around. At Alma's home, she pets her dog, and her mom comes towards her with a letter indicating a 1-week leave from work from her boss. She informs Alma that they will be going to Paris together. Alma gets really excited as she grabs the letter from her mom, smiling and becoming very happy. The doorbell rings, and Alma's mom goes to open it. She sees her colleague, and they both go to work together. In the evening, Arthur comes to meet Alma and apologizes to her about his behavior, and for saying what he did meant nothing. Alma shushes him and makes it clear to him that what's done is already done, and can't be changed no matter what. Arthur confesses his feelings to Alma, but she tells him to quit it, as she isn't that interested in him anymore. She bids him goodbye and gets back into her house, leaving him out there. In the next scene, Alma sits inside the bus and Sarah comes to sit next to her. They all exit the school bus and head towards the school. Alma sees a banner above where Arthur is standing and smiles. It was Arthur admitting to everyone that he truly poked Alma with his groin. Arthur is seen in Alma's house having lunch. Alma seeks her mom's permission for Arthur to sleep over, but she refuses immediately, bursting Alma and Arthur's bubbles.